You can get this product and so much more at www.safariltd.com. And don't forget to use the coupon code SpinoDude, that's SpinoDude, to get 20% off your next order. All links are down below in the description.
Hey guys, SpinoDude here and welcome back to another video. Today guys, we're going to be taking a look at another 2019 Safari Ltd figure for the #HawaiiSafari campaign. So let's have our co-host Marvin bring it out. Thank you, Marvin. Alrighty guys, so at long last we are taking a look at the highly anticipated Safari Ltd 2019 Allosaurus. I am so excited to finally have this figure in hand. We've been in need of a brand new Allosaurus figure for so long. So as always, a massive thank you to Safari Ltd for sending this over to the channel. And I have to say, same with the Coloration, which we just reviewed recently. This figure jarred me when I first saw it. It didn't really speak Allosaurus in the promo images when I saw it. It looked like too bulky. It didn't quite have that athletic theropod look that Allosaurus should have. But I started seeing pictures of it rising up when people were getting them in hand, and I was like, wow, this thing looks amazing in person. And then I got this figure in person just recently, and when I unboxed it along with the Coloration and Bernie the Gator, I was just like, wow. This is incredible, and this is one of my all-time favorite Safari Ltd figures. This thing is just so beautiful to look at from like every single angle. And while this Allosaurus is still a little bit more bulky than the typical reconstructions that I see, it maintains that very athletic look, especially with the posture that this figure is in. This figure was thought to maybe be a tripod with the way the arm was hanging down, but it's not. It stands perfectly on its two legs here, as you can see, and it has an incredibly active pose, which looks beautiful from pretty much every single angle. I love the way the head is turning, love the stride, the space between the legs there is fantastic. The way the tail is curving downwards in the back, very long tail as well, looks great. I love the positioning of the arms. It's just an absolutely gorgeous piece to look at, and it's great for photography as well. Another thing too that I adore about this figure is the coloration. The coloration is so good on this figure. Once again, Safari Ltd has been putting a lot of white on their dinosaurs, especially on their theropods, and it works out extremely well on this Allosaurus. We have a very white underbelly here, as you can see, and that carries up onto some dark brown borders that are bordering these markings that are going all the way down the tail, and those look really nice. I really like the way those are actually coming up. That was one thing that, as a creative choice, I wasn't very fond of at first, but getting it in hand, I think it works out extremely well, and I really like how they changed to horizontal markings going down each of the legs there, as you can see. Very precise for the markings as well, for these being hand painted, so whoever painted them did an extremely good job. Now, one thing about the markings that I find a little bit odd, and it's just not for my personal tastes, is that the white carries up and over the arm, and actually not on this side, yeah, on this side right here. The white carries up and over the arm and splits apart the green. I think as just someone who paints models myself, I think it would have looked better if the green carried down into the arm and the stripe didn't go over it, but that's just my own personal taste, just a subjective opinion, and thought I would mention it here. I really like the airbrushing of the yellowish color mixed in with the olive green as well. Then we have the dark, almost black, but it looks like a very dark brown that's bordering the white markings, and then of course the black airbrush going down the top there with some dark green hues in it as well. I also really like how they've included the black socks and gloves on this Allosaurus. Safari introduced me to that on their dinosaur figures, and I think the whole socks idea works out extremely well on theropods, and I've been including them a lot in my own repaints and drawings and such lately. It works out extremely well. I really like that inclusion. Now, one thing about the hands here with the claws, Allosaurus did have an elongated claw on its first finger that was slightly longer than the other claws on its hands, but for safety reasons, Safari, of of course, had to shave down how sharp these claws were, and if this claw was longer, then it would have not been stable. It probably would have broken off very easily, so that's not really too big of a deal. I really like the way the feet look. The feet are beautifully detailed. I love all of the folds and the wrinkles in them throughout. Claws are sculpted very nicely as well, and the way they interact with the ground when you plop this finger down is very realistic as well. The scales throughout the body are absolutely minuscule and are beautifully done. I also really like the folds and wrinkles in the skin throughout. The tail is beautifully done as well, as you can see. I love the wrinkles and folds in the neck, especially because the neck is turning off to the left there. And I really like the way the shoulder muscles look as well, and the musculature in the limbs is beautifully sculpted as well. Now, one thing I noticed is that the chest here is a little bit wide. And that's because if you look at the fossils of Allosaurus, the shoulders are very, very close together, and they're spread out a little bit far on this figure here, but you can't really see it from too many angles, and that's not an area that people are going to focus on too much. But why don't we get into my favorite part of this figure, and usually my favorite part of every figure is the head sculpt. Well, that's blurry. Are we gonna focus? There we go. But look at that head sculpt. Definitely speaks Allosaurus to me, especially getting this figure in hand. It looks absolutely beautiful. I love the red crest. It's a very common thing to see a red crest, but against this green color, I think it's absolutely stunning. I love the red eye as well. I think that's a great choice of color for the eye. The nostrils are carved out on the front of the snout there, as well as the ears on the back of the skull. The teeth are also very nicely sculpted for being so small on this figure, especially the ones on the top jaw. There is unfortunately a white paint splotch from the teeth on the lip there. Not a massive deal, but it is kind of unfortunate. I really like the way the head looks on this side as well. Definitely, it just speaks Allosaurus. It looks so good. And from the front, it even has the binocular vision and everything. It looks absolutely beautiful. I love just turning the head slightly to the side like that as well. Like, that looks absolutely beautiful right there. The mouth agape and roaring. Oh man, I can't get enough of this figure. This thing is so good. The interior of the mouth is sculpted and painted in a fleshy pink color. You can see the tongue there, and the roof of the mouth has very minor detail on it, but you can't really see too far in there anyway. Although the nostril holes are carved out on the roof of the mouth there as well, which is great attention to detail. Overall, this figure is just amazing, in my opinion. Without doubt, the best Allosaurus figure on the market that you can get. We've been in need of one for so long, and I'm so happy that Safari decided to make an Allosaurus, because this should be, in my opinion, this should be the go-to Allosaurus figure if you're looking for one. But why don't we do a quick measurement of this figure? So Marvin, why don't you bring out the flexi ruler? Thank you, Marvin. Alright, we've got our trusty flexi ruler here, so let's give this Allosaurus a measure. So in terms of the length from the tip of the snout to the tip of the tail, we are looking at about 9.5 inches, which is about 25 centimeters, and in terms of the height at the highest point, which is actually the top of the tail over here, very close to the head, but we are looking at about 3.25 inches, which is about 8 centimeters. Now, first of all, for comparison, I wanted to bring out Safari Ltd's 2019 Stegosaurus. Of course, these two were released this year around the same time, and you cannot have an Allosaurus without having Stegosaurus. These two, it's just a classic Jurassic battle right here, and Safari, you can tell, clearly developed these figures to complement each other with their poses. For example, you have the Allosaurus like this, and the Stegosaurus like this, swinging its tail and looking off to the side. I think that is so awesome for photography, and I can't wait to take some pictures with these two figures out in my yard. But anyway, let's put the Stegosaurus over here and the Allosaurus over here again, and let's zoom out. We're gonna need to zoom out quite a bit, actually, because we're going to bring in a couple more Morris information dinosaurs. First of all, we have the 2017 Safari Ltd. Diplodocus here. Of course, not in scale, but it's still very large. And then we have the recently reviewed 2019 Safari Ltd. Camarasaurus here, which overall I think is definitely larger mass-wise in comparison to the Diplodocus. But all these figures look great, and I hope Safari expands on the Morrison formation more. I would love to see them make maybe a Torvosaurus. A Dryosaurus would be awesome as well. I'd love to see a Dryosaurus or a Torvosaurus from them. But anyway, here's all of their Morrison formation animals from the past couple years. And I almost forgot to do our consistent size comparison for the Safari Ltd reviews with Bernie the Gator. There you are, my little lad. Give you a little scratch on the nose there. There he is next to the Safari Ltd 2019 Allosaurus. But anyway guys, that's going to do it for today's review of the 2019 Safari Ltd Allosaurus. I think this figure is absolutely spectacular. I cannot recommend it enough. One of my all-time favorites from Safari Ltd without a doubt. This is also the final unique sculpt that we're going to be taking a look at from the Wild Safari Prehistoric range for 2019. There is one more figure that I'm waiting to come back in stock to review from the 2019 range. So anyway guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. Also leave a comment telling me what you think of this brand new Allosaurus figure. So thank you so much guys for watching, and as always I will see you in my next video. So take care and bye bye.